Welcome, everyone, to our panel on embedded finance. Can I have a screen? All right. Perfect. We just want to quickly start with something very exciting. I'm also the chair of the Open Finance Working Group of the MENA FinTech Association. And as a working group, we have been working with regulators, fintechs, and banks, and the whole ecosystem to build the whole thinking and the vision of the region when it comes to open banking and open finance. And the last 2 years, we published great insights and reports, like the Open Banking Vision for the Arab world or the Open Finance Framework for the MENA region. And now we would like to talk about something slightly new, but something that is much more exciting, that is built on top of open banking and open finance, namely embedded finance. So that's what we want to talk about today. So embedded finance is really exciting because it goes beyond and it's building on top of the existing infrastructure on open banking, open finance once it's established. But it's already there. It's already happening in the region, right? And not only in the region, but also globally. So we are talking about having embedded finance as a capability of banking and payment services that is there in the everyday lives of consumers and businesses, right? So banking and payments is everywhere where the consumer is. And that's really exciting because consumers don't have to think about whether they have to go to the bank or to any other financial services company to get a loan, to get a specific banking product. So it's always embedded into the customer journey of non-financial services brands, right? With your sport article or a car manufacturer. So everywhere finance can be embedded in the way that consumers want, in the seamless and frictionless customer experience. So I'm very proud to announce our new report from the MENA FinTech Association. We are an association of and a working group of a bunch of global and regional experts and different companies and fintechs really working on the thinking. And embedded finance is something that is really important to us. And we would like to share our thinking and what we believe how the market is evolving. And really happy for you to download it. Here's the QR code. You can also download it from the MFTA website or from any of the working group members' websites. So lean in and really keen to discuss with you and with the whole working group and with the ecosystem how we can help to build a safe and secure ecosystem for embedded finance. Now let me just start with our panel today. I have an esteemed list of people here and from the industry. I have Imane, she's EVP Strategy at Paymob. We have Ibtisam, co-founder and CPO of Cashew Payments, and Ihsan, co-founder and CEO of Dapi. A warm welcome to the panel. And it would be great just to quickly introduce yourself, maybe starting with you, and then we can start with the discussion.
Sure. So my name is Ibtisam. I'm the co-founder and the chief product officer at Cashew Payments. Cashew Payments is a buy now, pay later POS lending fintech that's been operating for about 2.5 years. We've been servicing the UAE ecosystem merchants as well as partnering with financial institutions in order to offer our services to the end user.
Thank you. Ihsan?
Thank you, Hakan. So my name is Ihsan. I'm a co-founder of Dapi. Dapi is simply a financial infrastructure provider. We're also an open banking aggregator. That means we help startups and companies connect to their user-based bank account to streamline access to financial data and to initiate low-cost payment. We help anywhere from wallets to personal financial management, exchange house, investment platform, build and construct more innovative financial products.
Thank you. And finally...
Thank you. So I'm Iman. I'm EVP of Strategy at Paymob. And Paymob is basically the leading MENA-P payment facilitator for SMEs and micro merchants. We work to bridge all of the needs and the pain points of SMEs by providing them with payment facilitation, management products, ERPs, and any type of payout solutions that can help them focus on their core business and leave all the heavy lifting to us. So yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, and glad to have you here
Thank you.
And to discuss the topic. I'm not really sure how familiar you are with embedded finance as a concept and as an industry, I would say, in the end. There's a lot of misconception about open finance, embedded finance, banking as a service. Is it the same or is there an overlap? I think I would like to shed some light to this whole thing. And just the first question is going to all of you, but maybe starting with Ibtisam. On, can you bring your view on embedded finance? I mean, is it a buzzword or is it really something that makes it differentiates it from open finance and the way of embedding finance the way we have done it in the past already? But what really changed and what's so exciting about it?
Sure. So I feel like open banking or any other tool to facilitate embedded finance is part of the ecosystem, obviously. So embedded finance, I don't believe it's a buzzword. I feel like that's where any other company, a service provider or someone who's selling products or services are going to be in the future utilizing as sort of an embedded finance product. For example, I can speak about buy now, pay later or POS lending. It's in itself an embedded finance product that has different players. Obviously, there is a distributor, could be a merchant, an e-commerce service provider. Then there is the technology provider, which is the fintech, for example, Cashew Payments. And then there is the financial institution or the bank that is providing banking as a service products to the fintech in order to enable the merchant to utilize the services, right? And all of this is in benefit of the end user. Why? The end user gets access to financial services at the point of sale, at the checkout, in a seamless and fast way, and also cheap when it comes to cost. The merchant is actually benefiting because is providing a value to their end users and actually generating also income. It's a new revenue stream. And the bank is acquiring more customers, and the fintech is the fintech itself as well. So I feel like all parties that are involved in this process, which are 3 of them, and providing services to the end user, are benefiting at each stage. So I believe it's here to stay, and we've heard this many times. We've read it in many articles and research that every company will become a fintech company or a payment service company. So, and I believe that's going to be the future, and we see it already.
All right, no, really exciting. I think that's what I've heard is there's a lot of collaboration required between the different stakeholders in the industry, and connectivity and seamless integration of those services key as well. So my question would go to Ihsan, from your perspective, from the DAPI perspective. How do you see embedded finance evolving, and what's the key message that you want to put across on embedded finance?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the word is, there are too many different vocab and they definitely overlap with each other. If we talk about embedded finance in general, it's definitely not a new concept. It's existed for a long time, and just simply put, it's basically instead of going to the bank and getting like one-size-fits-all financial products, now the financial product can be embedded and placed in the right way where the customer most likely to need it.
Yeah.
So what's changed now is that there are many nuances when it comes to the infrastructure that makes this concept even more attractive. So some of the point that you mentioned today, banks are now more receptive, and now thanks to first movers, they believe in this concept, and now they're more happy to collaborate and become more flexible. Yeah. From an open banking perspective, I think this is a key element to drive the adoption of embedded finance. Because we're talking about placement, what open banking promise is streamline access to financial data of the customer. So now not only you place it the right place, but also you can be custom tailored to that particular user need based on their transaction history, based on their spending behavior, and so on. And that's one of the use cases. And finally, definitely the regulatory framework is evolving, and that's a key element. But we believe innovation precedes regulation. I think the early mover have definitely helped the regulation take shape. And that's what's exciting today, is that all the pieces of the puzzle are coming up together. And this is definitely the future. The customer demands customization, and they get this from everywhere else, on social media and everywhere. So it makes sense to ditch the one-size-fits-all financial product and go into more customization. We definitely believe this is the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a clear consumer demand for such services, and the industry needs to provide services. Now, from a PayMob perspective, Imani, what is, I guess you're going to agree with most of that what was said, but from your perspective with the services that you provide, what did embedded finance change for you, for your company, the way how you interact with the ecosystem and embed your products? Is all of that, including open banking, open finance, APIs, improving that? And what has actually changed? And how exciting do you see this development?
Well, I see it as extremely exciting, and I agree with all the points that my colleagues here made. But if we look at it from an SME perspective, that's from a consumer perspective, everything that they mentioned absolutely makes sense, and there's a lot of offering for consumers to help them get more access and buy more. But having the angle of small businesses that are trying to thrive within a really tough economy and not having enough data to be able to access traditional loans and working capital, etc., embedded finance really bridges that gap by helping them grow and really push financial inclusion that much further. Because if we look at it from not just a PayMob perspective, but an overall payment facilitator landscape perspective, we sit on a very big pool of data of transactions of these merchants, and we know how their volumes are growing, what are their pain points, and how we can help bridge that gap versus what the requirements of banks are for financial instruments access. So we can start working together with the different players in the ecosystem to help those small merchants that actually build up the majority of the economy and provide them with the right financial tools and the right financial instruments that fit their need, instead of just having them not fit in the standard bucket of what is currently available and not helping them get access to anything to further their growth. So I see embedded finance as a key enabler for financial inclusion overall through offering to SMEs.
Absolutely. I think especially the space where you get more precise credit scores, for example, using open banking data, but 100%. Also non-financial services data, right, from any other platform that is collecting data of customers. And I think that kind of in a wider open data ecosystem is some kind of a discussion that is going on anyways, to bring in different data sources, especially for financial inclusion. So we talked about financial inclusion, we talked about give some glimpse of what kind of use cases are out there when we talk about embedded finance. But let's be more concrete. So what are the actual, I don't want to say killer application because it doesn't really exist, right? It's just a composition of things. What are the key use cases that you see at the moment, right? And what do you see in the future coming up with embedded finance? Maybe some 1 or 2 examples from your environment. Who wants to start first?
We'll give it to Ihsan.
Yeah, I think I can start with a few use cases that we've all interacted with about the embedded journey. It's as simple as buying an Apple product and getting offer insurance. That's embedded insurance. I think Cashew here, Buy Now, Pay Later, is a great example. Maybe she'll tell you more about it, but it's also kind of like embedded lending in a way.
Yeah.
So we talk about also the other piece, it's kind of on a banking as a service. We talked about the example of the Starbucks wallet. Starbucks has $1.5 billion in customers' money. They don't have a banking license. The way they do it is by collaborating now with any bank in the US. And now they have more asset than some banks. So those are all some of the examples that can all link to when it comes to embedded finance journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other?
Yeah, like building on that embedded lending, but from a merchant's perspective for their buyer-supplier relationships and working capital finance is something that I see as being a very big use case in that front. And back to insurance, we can look at it from just buying products on a marketplace or at a shop, but also insurance from a supplier perspective. So we can take that and play with it on different fronts. And building on banking as a service, there's also fintech as a service and enabling different types of businesses to issue their own invoices, to manage their business differently. Absolutely. And embed payments into that. So the sky is really the limit, and there are different players that fit into that. So we can think about use cases for the distributors, for the providers of the funding, the balance sheet lenders, etc. So, yeah.
I feel like another use case could be,
Please.
apart from like obviously the buy now pay later and the lending piece, we've seen a lot of merchants, so like
Yeah.
big groups and the likes of Al-Futtaim or Majid Al-Futtaim, for example, issuing cards to their loyalty-based customers, right? They have a loyalty app where they're providing points, cashback, and now they're like, okay, we're sitting on all this transactional data, we're sitting also on all of this user data. What can we upsell, which is cards like debit cards or credit cards or a prepaid card. So that's an example in partnership with banks, right? We just seen the
Yeah.
Visa and Al-Futtaim card with Fab, and then we've seen MasterCard doing the same thing. So I feel that's another great example. They're merchants, right? So
Yeah,
they're issuing
exactly.
cards.
Exactly. Another thing I think that shouldn't be neglected is the space of SMEs, and I mean in general, as you said, Imani, but also on corporates, for example. So the whole idea of embedding, because many corporates, for example, are going through a huge digital transformation journey as well, right? Because they need to serve their customers as well. They're in the B2B space, but also in the B2C space, actually. And they need also partners in the financial service sector who can speak the same language, right? They're using API, they have transformed, they are real time. So I think that's, and also embedding finance products, be it FX or hedging a trade or something like this, right? There are a list of banks who are actually doing that today, building those APIs and embed it into treasury systems and so on and so forth, which is a bit going beyond that, what we have talked about, but I think the potential is huge across the different segments. Now, I would like to deep dive a little bit on the topics around building blocks of such an ecosystem of embedded finance, because embedded finance, with the whole open banking and the space of building such products with different third parties, was at the very beginning a journey, right? You learn and you talk with regulators, and the regulation is coming up. In order to make it a safe and secure environment, the regulator is involved to make sure that the guidelines are set in place. But what are the key considerations when it comes to building blocks? Because we are talking about multiple industry players. We're talking about non-financial services companies who are providing financial services embedded, invisible for the customer. So how can you make sure that liability is a framework is there, and all the other building blocks? I don't want to mention all, but just to the round. Maybe, I don't know, Ihsan, you would like to start to talk about building blocks of such an ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. It's if we're talking to startups, this is definitely the best time to kind of go into the building fintech product, because the barrier for entry have been lowered significantly with all those infrastructure. So as Dappy, from an open banking perspective, we're going to provide the streamlined access to financial data, and we're going to provide like a cheaper way to access fund as well. And also banks, going to the bank example. So the key of embedded finance is that you only need one bank to take a shot and offer those financial services, and then he can serve the entire market. Yeah. It's not like every bank should sign up for this. So there's an opportunity even for smaller banks to get into this digital journey and start offering their financial service, whether it's insurance, whether it's credit card, loans, etc., and jump into this digital revolution. But definitely now it's an exciting time to build those financial services because now all the pieces are in place. So as you mentioned, a startup before, they would need to get a very specific financial license. At some point, they needed to be a bank and pay the deposit and so on. Now all they have to do is to partner with a banking as a service provider. Namecar is a great example. Yeah. And they can start offering financial service on top of this license. So the barrier for entry definitely went lower. And the customer is more, so from demand and from supply, it's the perfect time now to start jumping into this, definitely.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Probably.
Yeah, we can see that example also with ourselves. So obviously we announced our partnership with Mashreq Bank about beginning of this year, and it was about the same concept, right? They already have a risk framework, they already sit in a balance sheet, they already have licenses, right? And buy now, pay later is not regulated yet in this country, in the UAE. So we've utilized Mashreq risk framework up till today. That's what we are doing, and we're learning a lot. I feel like there is a lot of learnings
Absolutely.
fintech to bank, and vice versa also, right? Because banks, for us, they still sit on legacy systems, so for them it's very hard to build APIs today to integrate directly with merchants or with distributors. So they would need to partner with a bank, with a fintech first, right? A fintech builds these APIs and plugins and so on, and then they will just expand their reach through the fintech. So it works pretty well. And we've seen this, obviously, Mashik took a leap of faith, and they did it with Nimcard, with ourselves, and with another startup. And we've seen now other countries within the GCC, like Saudi Arabia, adopting the same mindset.
Absolutely, very exciting. So, any thoughts? Anything?
Well,
to
they
add?
already mentioned like
Ah,
99%,
perfect.
but like I would add just like one small element. Like while we look at all of these building blocks, we as an industry need to come together and really think about how to build the right CX and UX for the users to really ensure that it's as seamless as an Apple Card on e-com type of experience. So it's really that can differentiate the success of a new proposition versus not that much adoption. So on top of everything else, we just need to spend time and ensure that we're covering the right journeys and that it's as seamless and as invisible as possible.
As invisible as possible, that's right. And no, absolutely. I think that's and that was one of the lessons learned also from regulations and from this journey that we have seen in Europe and elsewhere, that customer experience in the end is really important, because there needs to be an adoption in the end and to serve customers in a safe and secure environment, right? Because consumers want that, and that needs to be addressed. And also regulators are also learning a lot, and to collaborate with the ecosystem to come up with the right adjusted framework that allows this innovation, and at the same time to keep it safe and secure. So now we are here in the startup campus and with fintechs, right? And you are fintechs as well, but still startups at the very early stages. What makes embedded finance exciting? And I think you have brought some points, very valid ones. It's custom experience, is about what you said, was about fintechs who can help to orchestrate things, to streamline, to work with the banks, to bring in the capabilities to make it easy to use. And there's a role to play in this whole thing. And then again, the custom experience. So what role can startups play, or new evolving companies? I guess, without, probably you would implement it on your own, I guess. So maybe there are some tips still, ideas why startups should be engaging in the embedded finance space.
One thing I would think of is like the biggest advice I heard before, and that is still relevant today, is to spend time to understand what is the niche that you're trying to serve and what are their pain points. And by really being super honest and spending time understanding these points, startups will be able to build the right product with the right partnerships and everything that will serve that. So once that's identified, instead of just going and chasing a trend that is there but that might not be relevant for what they're trying to solve for, just spending time and then seeing which part of embedded finance actually fit into it and build it.
Absolutely. How about you?
Yeah, maybe a final statement. I would definitely, what worked for us is partnership. So we believe in such a fragmented market that we are today. Definitely the smart option is to partner as much as possible whenever it makes sense. And for startup building any type of product today, I advise you to take another look and consider what's available today in terms of the infrastructure. You would be surprised how much you would save versus, it's always like a build versus buy or partner conversation. And startup today can just make use of all the existing infrastructure players, partner up and go to market quickly. Nobody's going to wait for you for 2 years until you get the perfect product. Put the puzzle together and go to the market, to go back to this point where validating the market as well. So startup, I think, who takes long time to go to market, they just miss the train. It's somebody else will put the pieces together, and that's the advice that worked for us.
Yeah, and you went through this, no?
Yeah. We did.
You went through this as a startup at the beginning.
Absolutely.
How about you?
I feel like we did not speak about educating the end user, right? Because they are on the merchant, for example, e-commerce side, they're going through the payment journey, they're like, okay, I can finance a specific product or whatever it is that the service from the embedded finance partner. But I feel like fintech and startups can serve also as a tool to educate end users about the specific services that they are embarking into, right? Why, like for example, you're providing your data or all of that. Why doing so, and how can be safe and secure for you, and what is the added value? What's the benefit versus you going directly to the bank, and so on and so forth? How your data is going to be stored and managed in order for the consumer to be more willing to provide also that data, right? Because I feel merchants or service providers are not really equipped to do so, and I feel like fintechs can put in more effort to educate the end user, definitely, on the risks and the benefits. Risk and benefits, yeah.
It was a sign.
Time's up.
No. It was a sign, actually, because, yeah. No, absolutely makes sense, and I think that that this, what you said, Imane, with the niche issue, right? To really understand what's going on. I mean, it's not just about trends, because then you jump on the next best trend, and you need to focus on something, and to really be fast in prototyping, building, finding a partner, maybe one or two, and start things moving on instead of overthinking and investing too much time in things that are not moving the right way. But I guess you all of you are going through this. But yeah, absolutely. Are there any questions? I think we have 2 minutes, no? Left? Maybe microphone or so?
I feel like it's for me.
Thanks.
Hello?
Yeah.
So with embedded finance really exploding, specifically around areas related to lending, you know, so we have like SME lending, and we have like point of sale finance, buy now, pay later, and we have like kind of like a gateway to allow them to operate. In terms of like risk mitigation, because you're lending money out to individuals or businesses, what measures are you taking to basically minimize the risk so you can give the money comfortably to the right customers? Thank you.
Who wants to take this?
That's for you.
Sure. For me, obviously, like data is the most important factor, right? Why, for example, we utilize open banking is because we can access consumer data through their banking transactions, or, for example, we don't need to ask the consumer to provide their payslip or their salary details. We can access that immediately on our own through the partnership in real time, right? And that is sort of mitigating this risk. But then not only. It would be, for example, from the merchant side, we get access to transactional data, about historical transaction data, right? Purchase data. And that helps us also mitigate the risk, and also through the partnerships with the bank partners. So we can access different data about their spending behavior and all of that can help us make better decisions, decisions that are actually relying on actual data from the consumer side, right? I feel like that's the most important for us. If we have enough data, we can make better decisions.
Thank you. And maybe one point, no?
Yeah, on the SME side, being payment facilitators, we see all of the volume that goes through that merchant, through e-com, POS, and all the channels that we provide. So looking at backdated data for 6 months or whatnot, we can have machine learning or AI on our side to predict what type of volumes would be there. And back to Sam's point, just embedding as much data as we can to provide the right credit score.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Imane, Ihsan, Ibtisam, for this great discussion. And again, call out to really download the report and let's have the conversation. Really keen to have that. Thank you very much for your attention. And yeah, see you and talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.